Hey everyone! So this video is going to be how to choose your wedding photographer / what to look for in your wedding photographer. So if you're new to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying my wedding series videos. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Now I am making this video based off of my personal experience, the thought process that was in my head, so hopefully you guys find some of this helpful. So first thing is first, your wedding photographer, your wedding photography is going to be one of the most important aspects of the entire day. It really is somewhere that you really need to sit down and decide what your budget for wedding photography will be, and I highly recommend putting that pretty high up there on your budget list, because this is the only way that you get to relive your wedding day over and over and over again. So I know in my last wedding series video, it was all about an unplugged wedding. Should you have your guests snapping photos at your wedding? And I personally shared my opinion on that. I will have it linked in the description. I personally believe that photos are the most important part of the entire wedding day experience. So just make sure when you sit down and discuss your budget with your family and with your future husband that you really decide how much you're going to want to spend on the photographer themselves. So once you've sat down and discussed your budget, it's now time to do your research. And when I say research, I mean really pound hard on this research. What I personally did is I looked everywhere on social media. I found my photographer. She actually had liked one of my photos, and I went to her Instagram page, and that is how I found her, and I immediately fell madly in love. She was always the top photographer that I wanted. I went to other pages and I liked other photographers, but she was always my favorite, and it was mainly because of her aesthetic. So one of the first things to definitely look for is the photographer's aesthetic. Is it what you like? Are the lighting and effects that they add to the photos, is that something that you're interested in? Do you like when they add a bunch of crazy stuff in the background, or maybe they make the photos really dramatic with different poses? I don't know. Make sure that their aesthetic is what you are looking for, because you are not able to edit their photos, or at least you shouldn't. I personally believe that if we are going to invest in a service, we shouldn't have to then edit our photos and make sure that they look exactly how we want them. We should already be paying for them to already look the way that we want them to. So every photographer has a different aesthetic, a different vibe to their photos, so make sure you find one that has the kind that you like. Now once you've found some photographers, you've narrowed it down, you found ones that you really like, you want to make sure that you're checking out their website as well. If they don't have a website, definitely check on their Facebook page. Somewhere they have their services and investment. Ask them how much their packages are. See if they are within your budget. Don't go over your budget. I can promise you that there's going to be another photographer who can do similar to what you are looking for. So do check the prices that your photographer offers and check everything that comes with it, because I went to an expo and a photographer was charging X amount of money, but all that came with it was just the photos. I then had to pay for them to edit it, which I thought was crazy. I had to pay for a bunch of different things that I would think should be included with a photography package, but it wasn't included, and the price was really, really high. So you want to make sure that you compare the prices. And one tip with that is find a photographer that is similar to your photographer, or at least kind of in the same experience range, and try and compare the prices, and maybe the other photographer, maybe their prices are really good, and see if you can bargain with your photographer. Say, hey, I found this price. I'm willing to pay this much money for your service. Would you be able to do so? And chances are the photographer is going to want to work with you because they want your money, let's be honest. So definitely see if you can negotiate with them. So the next thing that I recommend doing is reading reviews. The Knot.com, Wedding Wire, Wedding Bee, I think there might be a few other ones, but I didn't use any other ones. Even Thumbtack. Check out all of the reviews that are out there and read what people are saying. Most of the time, people are going to be pretty honest after the wedding, because after the wedding, the services are already over, so they don't mind telling a little bit of the truth. There were some vendors that I had no problem saying how it really was, because I wanted other brides to really see how things went. A lot of brides are going to want to help other brides and make sure that they don't waste their money on services, so definitely check out the reviews. There are so many different wedding websites out there, so check and see if that particular photographer is on that website and read every single one of the reviews. Some people may have had a bad experience, so take it with a grain of salt, figure out why they had a bad experience. Is this something that the photographer corrected? Just do your research when it comes to reviews and make sure that you really know what you're going to get. So this is probably the #1 most important thing in this entire video. Make sure your photographer, and this is my personal opinion, make sure your photographer is a wedding photographer. There are so many photographers out there that focus solely on, let's say, architecture or maybe landscapes, make sure that you're finding a photographer who regularly does weddings. Now, that's not to say make sure you find a photographer that does 500 weddings a year, because sometimes when that happens, they get so saturated that all of the photos almost blend together. Like, this wedding may have wanted their look and style and aesthetic one way, but it seems like your wedding ends up looking like theirs, and that's not what you want. You want each wedding to kind of feel differently. So sometimes when they're overly saturated, that's not a good thing either. You obviously don't want a total amateur photographer, but you also don't want one that is so busy that you almost never hear from them either. I know with my photographer, I talked to them constantly. I constantly was interacting with them. I made sure that we stayed in touch and we really got to know each other, and that's a whole nother topic, but definitely make sure that you have one that's around for help. If you have questions, if you need to get in touch with them, make sure you find one that has great communication, and if they do a ton of weddings a year, chances are they're not going to get back in touch with you very quickly. So going back to what I mean by wedding photographer, make sure you find a photographer that's really good at capturing people. Capturing people and capturing landscapes or capturing architecture is like two totally different vibes. So make sure you find a photographer that solely does weddings. If they do other stuff on the side, great, but try and find a photographer that really focuses on weddings. And that being said, also when you do your research, try and decide what type of style do you like. Do you like fine art? Do you like portrait? Do you like documentary? What kind of style do you like for your wedding? I personally chose documentary, so that just means nothing was posed. We had some posed photos that you would want to hang up on your wall, but a lot of it was documentary. It's really just kind of embracing and showing how the wedding day went, what it looked like, the different things that I missed as the bride. I was overmingling what was going on over here, the photographer was capturing. So I went for the documentary type of style. So the style and aesthetic are two totally different things you really want to focus on. The style is going to be how they're shooting. Are the people posing a lot? Do you want that? Do you want most of it to be like, let's say you're cake cutting, do you want your photographer to stop you and say, hey, let me capture a posed photo of you guys doing this? When you're dancing, do you want your photographer to stop you guys and say, hey, let me capture a photo of you guys smiling at me? What type of photos do you want? So see if your photographer is good at capturing the type of style that you like. Now this is extremely, extremely important. Definitely get to know your photographer's personality, because if you have completely different personalities, you might butt heads, and you want to feel confident, you want to feel secure, you want to feel like you can trust your photographer, and if you guys have two separate personalities and you butt heads a lot, you're not going to capture the right type of photos. I actually hired a photographer and a videographer, and both of them were so much fun to be around. I genuinely enjoyed them. I thought they were funny. I felt comfortable in front of them. I felt like we could be friends outside of me hiring them for my wedding. I really enjoyed who they were as people, and that was extremely important to me. I talked to the videographer a little bit more than the photographer during the planning process, but it didn't matter to me because I felt so confident in who I was talking to that I knew that my photos were going to be amazing. Going into the wedding, we booked our photographer very early. Going into the wedding from day one until now that I have my photos, I felt confident every step of the way. There was never a moment where I did not feel confident in what they would do, how their work would come out. I just love them from start to finish, and that is very, very, very important when choosing your photographer. Let's say they're having an amazing sale and they're just doing an amazing gig. You can get this huge package for X amount of money. It's perfect. It's a great deal. But let's say the photographer's personality is crap. They're not personable. They're quiet. They don't help you out. They don't talk to you. You guys just butt heads. They're over in La La Land. That sale or that great promotion that they are offering is not worth it. You need to make sure that you get along with your photographer. That is so important. So the next thing that you want to make sure that you know about your photographer is what type of photo rights do they give you? Do they allow you to only do prints and you can't post online? Do they allow you to post online? Do they allow you to sell your items? Maybe you want your wedding photos, I don't know, to be part of commercial purposes. That is something that you definitely need to do your research too. Once they tell you what your rights are, definitely make sure that you really have a clear understanding of what they are. I highly recommend finding a photographer that does not try and watermark every single photo. I find when a photographer wants to watermark the photos, that takes away from the actual photo so much, and that's my personal opinion. Some people, maybe it's kind of like having a logo. If you got the top photographer in your area, maybe you want their logo on there. I personally don't like having a watermark on my photo, and that kind of goes with your photo rights. Will they be watermarking it? Will they allow you to post on social? Will they let you edit it? Which I definitely recommend. Don't edit your photographer's photos. It is so rude. They spend hours and hours and hours editing your photos, and if you're gonna edit on top of it, it is so wrong. So do not edit on top of photographer's edit. But some photographers do say, hey, if you want to match your Instagram theme, you can do it, whatever it is. So definitely make sure that you know your photo rights going into it. There were so many photographers that tried saying, yes, all you can do is print. You weren't allowed to post on social media, which I thought was crazy. There's just a bunch of different things that photographers try to get away with. My photographer was so cool. So definitely make sure that you know the photo rights, because that is pretty important. So right now, these are all of my tips that I can think of right now. I'm sure there are so many others that I just cannot think of, but if that's the case, I will make sure to list them in the description. So check the description. Any tips that you guys have, please leave in the comments. Help other brides out. Leave your tips and tricks in the comments below. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm on all of your favorite social media, so definitely make sure you check my links in the description, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Take care, everyone.